People fabricate anger. Use. Yesterday afternoon, I was reading a book in a coffee shop when a waitress passed by and spilled coffee on my jacket. I just bought it and it's my nicest piece of clothing. I couldn't help it. I just blew up my top. I yelled at him at the top of my lungs. I'm not normally the type of person who speaks loudly in public places, but yesterday shop was ringing with the sound of my shouting because I flew into a rage and forgot what I was doing. So, how about that? Is there any room for a goal to be involved here? No matter how you look at it. Isn't this behavior that originates from a cause? Philosopher. So you were stimulated by the emotion of anger and ended up shouting throughout your normally mild-mannered, sorry, mild-mannered. You couldn't resist being angry. It was an unavoidable occurrence, and you couldn't do anything about it. Is that what you're saying? Ruth? Yes, because it happened so suddenly. The words just came out of my mouth before I had time to think. Philosopher. Then just suppose you have happened to have a knife on you yesterday, and when you blew up, you just got carried away and stabbed him. Would you still be able to justify that by saying it was an unavoidable occurrence and I couldn't do anything about it? Use that. Come on, that's an extreme argument. Philosopher, it is not an extreme argument. If we proceed with your reasoning, any offense committed in anger can be blamed on anger, and will no longer be the responsibility of the person, because essentially you're saying that people cannot control their emotions. Well, how do you explain my anger then, philosopher? That's easy. You did not fly into a range and then started shouting. It is slowly that you got angry so that you could shout. In other words, in order to fulfill the goal of shouting, you created the emotion of anger. Use. What do you mean? Philosopher. The goal of shouting came before anything else. That is to say, by shouting, you wanted to make the waiter submit to you and listen to what you had to say. As a means to do that, you fabricated the emotion of anger. Use. I fabricated it? You've got to be joking. Philosopher. Then why did you raise your voice? Use. As I said before, I blew up my top. I was deeply frustrated. Philosopher. No. You couldn't have explained matters without raising your voice, and the waitress would most likely have given you a sincere apology, wiped your jacket with a clean cloth, and taken other appropriate measures. He might even have arranged for it to be dry cleaned, and somewhere in your mind you were anticipating that he might do these things. But even so, you shouted. The procedure of explaining things in normal words felt like too much trouble, and you tried to get out of that and make this unresisting person submit to you. The tool you used to do this was the emotion of anger. Use no way. You can't fool me. I manufactured anger in order to make him submit to me. I swear to you, there wasn't even a second to think of such things. I didn't think it over and then get angry. Anger is a more impulsive emotion. Philosopher, that's right. Anger is an instantaneous emotion. Now listen, I have a story. One day a mother and a daughter were quarreling loudly. Then suddenly the telephone rang. Hello? The mother picked up the receiver hurriedly, her voice still thickening with anger. The caller was daughter's homeroom teacher. As soon as the mother realized who was phoning, the tone of her voice changed, and she became very polite. Then, for the next 5 minutes or so, she carried on a conversation in her best telephone voice. Once she hung up, in a moment, her expressions changed again, and she went straight back to yelling at her daughter. Yes, well, that's not particularly unusually sorry, philosopher. Don't you see? In a word, anger is a tool that can be taken out as needed. It can be put away the moment the phone rings and pulled out again after one hangs up. The mother isn't yelling in anger. She cannot control. She's simply using the anger to overpower the daughter with a loud voice and terribly assert her opinions. And thereby assert her opinions. Use. So, anger is a means to achieve a goal. Philosopher. That is what teleology says. Use. I see now. Under the gentle-looking mask you wear, you're terrible nihilistic. Whether we're talking about anger or my reclusive friend, all your insides are stuffed with feelings of disturbed, distur- distrust for human beings.